Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I am literally so thrilled you're here today. If you're a focused learner gearing up to crush the Microsoft Azure AI Fundamentals exam, the AI-900, you have landed in exactly the right spot. We're going to unpack the architecture, the logic, and all the core concepts you need so you can walk into test day with absolute confidence.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The absolute biggest mindset shift you've got to make for the AI-900 is this. It's a fundamentals level exam. That means it's testing your conceptual understanding, not your coding syntax. So no, you aren't going to be asked to write complex Python or debug REST APIs from scratch. Actually, scratch that. It's more like thinking like an architect. Your real job here is scenario to service mapping. When you're handed a specific business problem, you just need to know exactly which Azure service to pull from the toolkit to solve it.
To get you to that architect level, here's our game plan. First, cracking the blueprint. Then, responsible AI and ML. Third, processing vision and language. Fourth, enterprise generative AI. And finally, scenario mapping.
All right, Section 1, cracking the blueprint. Let's talk exam mechanics. You're going to have about 45 to 60 minutes to tackle somewhere between 40 and 60 questions. It's a real mix: multiple choice, drag and drop matching, yes or no scenario grids, and your target passing score is a solid 700 out of 1,000.
So how does Microsoft actually weight those questions? Well, generative AI is the absolute heavyweight champion of the syllabus, sitting right at the top, making up about 25% of your exam. The other domains, natural language processing, computer vision, and machine learning principles, they all hover right around that 20% mark. And then general AI workloads brings up the rear at 15%. This breakdown is huge because it tells you exactly where to focus your study time. Moving on to Section 2, Responsible AI and ML. Before we even think about building these cool AI architectures, we really have to understand the foundational rules that govern them on Azure. Microsoft mandates the 6 non-negotiable principles of responsible AI, and you simply must memorize them for test day. First up, fairness, meaning models don't discriminate, like making sure a loan system treats all genders equally. Then, reliability and safety. Basically, the system won't just crash or act dangerously. I mean, nobody wants an AI deciding 2 plus 2 equals 5 during a high-speed automated stock trade, right? Privacy and security is all about locking down user data. Inclusiveness ensures the AI empowers everyone, no matter their ability. Transparency means users actually understand how the AI works and what its limits are. And accountability? That just means the humans who design these systems are ultimately on the hook for how they operate. Definitely keep these 6 mental checkboxes handy. They show up all over the test.
Now, when we actually start building models, Azure Machine Learning Studio has this brilliant feature called Automated ML, or AutoML. And this brilliantly illustrates how Azure abstracts the complex pipeline into 3 automated steps. Step 1 is featurization. It cleans up your data, fills in missing values, and normalizes it. Step 2 is algorithm selection, where it tests out different algorithms like random forests behind the scenes. And step 3 is hyperparameter tuning, which is basically tweaking the math to find the absolute best performance. You just provide the data and AutoML handles the whole shebang.
But hey, how do you even know if the model is any good? You gotta know your evaluation metrics. For the exam, lock in these sharp contrasts. If you're doing regression, so predicting a continuous number like house prices, your key metrics are RMSE and R-squared. For RMSE, lower is better because it's measuring errors. For R-squared, closer to 1 is better. Now, if you're tackling classification, like predicting spam or not spam, you look at accuracy, which is simply the fraction you got right, and AUC-ROC, where again, closer to 1 is better. So here's your mental shortcut to drill into your head. For errors, lower is better. For literally everything else, closer to 1 is better.
All right, Section 3, Processing Vision and Language. We're moving from raw data into how Azure actually interprets human sight and text.
The exam absolutely loves testing your ability to spot subtle differences here, especially between image tagging and object detection. It's a very simple distinction, but highly tested. Image tagging tells you what is in the image, like returning the words cat or indoor. But object detection tells you where it is. It actually gives you the specific coordinates for a bounding box so you can locate the item within the frame. Just remember, what versus where.
On the language side, under Azure AI Language, you've got to know Named Entity Recognition, or NER. This is a core NLP task that takes messy, unstructured text and pulls out highly structured categories. So if I feed it a sentence like, I bought 10 shares of Microsoft in New York today, NER is going to flag Microsoft as an organization, New York as a location, and today as a date. It's basically the engine that pulls the crucial details out of human conversation.
Which brings us to Section 4, Enterprise Generative AI. We have officially arrived at the climax of this explainer and the most heavily weighted domain on the AI-900.
Look, generative AI is exploding right now, but enterprise businesses have massive security concerns. So the huge selling point for Azure OpenAI is that it wraps your endpoints in a private virtual network, or VNet, keeping it strictly behind your corporate firewall. And here is the absolute ultimate guardrail. Your enterprise data, your prompts, and your generated responses are never, ever used to train OpenAI's public foundation models. Your data stays yours, period.
To manage all of this magic, developers use a command center called Azure AI Foundry. You might know it by its old name, Azure AI Studio. This is the central hub for building generative workloads. It features a model catalog where you can choose between GPT-4 or open-source models like Llama, but it also has this incredible tool called PromptFlow. PromptFlow is a visual orchestration tool that lets developers map out executable graphs, chaining together large language models, prompts, Python tools, and data lookups to build truly robust, enterprise-grade apps.
Okay, Section 5, Scenario Mapping. So, the crucial point is knowing how to tie these services back to real-world problems. I'm going to throw a high-energy, rapid-fire mock exam at you to lock these patterns into your brain. Let's see how you do.
Scenario number 1. Your business has thousands of physical PDFs and scanned invoices. You need a service that can extract the line items and text from those physical documents. Think about it for a second. Which Azure service maps to this document-heavy problem?
If you guessed Azure AI Document Intelligence, you nailed it. Anytime you see a scenario involving optical character recognition, or OCR for receipts, invoices, or scanned physical PDFs, Document Intelligence is your absolute go-to service. All right, next scenario. You're tasked with building a custom generative customer support agent, but it needs to answer conversational questions based strictly on your company's internal PDFs and data. Which service gives you the orchestration tools to build that?
For that one, you would use Azure AI Foundry, specifically leveraging PromptFlow. Remember, Foundry is the ultimate central hub for building custom conversational bots and Gen AI orchestration.
Okay, last one. Let's say you're hosting an international conference. You want a service that can take real-time audio speech from a presenter and instantly translate it into text in a completely different language for the audience. Which service handles dynamic, cross-lingual communication?
That is Azure AI Speech, specifically using its speech translation capabilities. If a problem involves transcribing or translating spoken audio, Azure AI Speech is exactly what you need.
And just like that, look at what we've covered. You now understand the core exam blueprint, those strict responsible AI guardrails, and the critical scenario to service mapping you need to succeed. Honestly, the next best step you can take right now is to jump into the Microsoft Learn Interactive Labs for some hands-on sandboxed experience. You know the scenarios, you know the guardrails, so are you ready to architect the future and secure that passing score of 700? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy studying.